So I don't know who else is there. So it's like speaking into a empty box. So I only can see somebody behind a yellow window and a green T-shirt, and somebody above. Maybe what will be the rules for talking? I think we need strict rules and need to first of all introduce each other. Or Marie, how do we need to do this kind of talk?
Well, if we do an introduction round, it's a little bit like in school, back in school in the old days. But we are 18 people, so I would, yeah, it's okay. But let's keep it as short as we can.
Okay.
But
so Orideso is already here. I cannot see you.
Yes, hi, Gregor, do you see me?
Okay.
please wave.
Sorry, I cannot see you, but many greetings to Belgium. You are in Belgium at the moment?
Yes, I'm in Ghent.
Yes. Yes, Orideso made this little folder, this little book, and made some descriptions about different exhibited artworks. And the first time we met was because of the Cube project I worked on 15 years. But let's talk about Den Haag. Thank you so much for getting invited from Den Haag. Marie, why did you choose an artist? So I'm working wherever I'm invited. So I'm happy to work with big museums and with small museums. And why did you choose Gregor Schneider for this exhibition? And we could have done so many things. Why did you let me do this?
Well, what can I say? I thought we were interviewing you and not me, but I've seen some of your works. I think the work is great. It wasn't shown in the Netherlands before, and I think that's reason enough. And with the project you did, I think I would invite you again in 10 years or so.
Because it's always a kind of also a political decision somehow, where artists are getting invited. You know, not only artists are very flexible, curators also very flexible, and they do their job where they get paid for. So I have long-term relationships to curators, and some are just quickies. You know, love affairs for a certain kind of moment.
So I
prefer long-term relationships, but also the job of curators changed completely. And so I hope we will have a long-term relationship. So I was fascinated about this institution. It's a kind of, what I thought it's lots of about communication, about talks. And I don't felt like that I need to have a code in my package to get in. And sure, I was interested in this reference, this kind of white Universalität, and sure, this kind of called rational formalism architecture. And sure, I was very interested in the history of the building, that it was a former American embassy. And I haven't worked 15 years roundabout, not in the United States. And for me, this was also a very nice opportunity to come United States a little bit closer. That's why also I choose some topics. I found it very interesting to show, especially in this ex-American embassy, the Cube story, the Goebbels house story, and the story about these cryotanks, and the story about this smell in black, so-called dark rooms. So, what's your?
But maybe I want to follow what you just said, Gregor. Yes. And do you think there is a difference because your work is a lot about the context in which it is shown, do you think there is a difference when you show in a museum, in a, you know, clean museum space, than when you show in a place that is very much imbued in history and was functioning as an embassy to of the United States to the Netherlands? Do you think there is a difference? I think there is, but do you see a difference?
The context is always important. But if you ask me seriously, I would answer it's also about technique. It's about the way of working and the definition of what you are doing. So, for example, I started here in this home house, constructing rooms inside rooms, and later I worked in the same way in galleries and museums.
Yes.
And the next step was to make it transportable. And if it make it transportable and completely inside these shapes, I ignore totally the context of the space. So I'm completely independent also.
You hide
wherever I'm working, wherever I'm doing. But you could talk in general about museums. Museums are very interesting places. There, in the past, they were collecting, they were keeping, they were storing. I don't know if museums does this today in these days anymore. And museums were interesting because you not only went there one time, more than one time. You have seen things twice. And but the definition of museum is more open yet, it's changing. It's not only about white cubes anymore in these days. And the interesting thing of a museum is that you are going in distance of things. You know, the question is if you can get in distance of a room, because when you're inside a room, you always see part of the room.
Yes.
So, and I was often criticized that I'm overwhelming the audience because you cannot get distance to, it's more about the experience. But this is the thing in our relationship to rooms, that you cannot go in distance.
Yes, you have to be intimate.
You're always surrounded. And when you're starting to talk about it like we do it now,
yes,
then you getting thinking about it. Then you get a distance to rooms.
Yes.
Sure, in a museum, you can do this. You have another history if it's an old museum. Don't forget, building temporary museums is an idea from the 80s. No? For example, the Tybeck Museum, Hans Hollein buildings from the 80s. So building museums for temporary art. So the history is not often that old for temporary art. The gallery space moved. I'm always interested in history. But sure, in an embassy, an American embassy, you have another context, another history. And
maybe
some people who went there told me it looks more real. I don't know what it means, but they said it's more real, whatever it means.
But
I found it very interesting to work here because it's very difficult. It's very difficult, but it's always difficult to work in a museum. It's not easy for me working in a museum because museums are not built for collecting, showing, storing rooms. No?
What this show was I think very much bringing into the table is the background of the world politics in your work. So all of a sudden, when it comes to the ex-American embassy, the Schwarze Kubus, the black cube, get another meaning, another layer of meaning. All of a sudden, your interrogation room from your abstract replica of Guantanamo Bay detention camp gets another meaning. All of a sudden, the Goebbels house gets a meaning. as something that has to do with the circumstances of the Second World War, but also the circumstances of after the Second World War. Do you see, I think this show makes us understand that there is a synergy between your works. There is a strong connection. It's not just single ideas. You have like a network of ideas that are connected to each other. Can I say it like this?
Ori, you always can write what you want and what you interpret it. So, but sure, today we are in a political time, and we everything is seen through political glasses. So you could have interpreted also the work in this home house as a political interpretation. I never said that I'm a political artist, because from the real, so we should all be political citizens, you know?
Yes.
But politics means to develop a regulation of system for society, and this is something that I cannot do, because I'm also interested in the not regulated things.
Yes.
Sure, in these days where everything is political, everything is being political, and this is also a big problem of the art world, because suddenly you don't see anymore the beauty, or you don't see anymore the art. So especially when you look at the black cube, nobody has written about the beauty of the black cube till today. What I'm doing, like we all, it's very, very strong related to the daily work, to the neighborhood, and to its. I'm a provincial local artist in a town. It's called Mönchengladbach, and have these kind of rooms here, and I'm working here. And in my neighborhood, I found this birth house of Joseph Goebbels.
Yes, he was living there until the age of 3.
It's not exactly clear. It's not exactly clear. So the moment where he moved to the other house is not exactly clear. But I was in 2001 invited to make the German pavilion with Uwe Kittelmann. In these days, he was director of the Kölner Kunstverein. And he asked me to work there, and I did something what I have done before, only in a bigger scale. So it was not a really original new working in Venice, but I made it bigger. And it's interesting. It's an island, and it's the German pavilion. It's also a Nazi building, and I knew that Goebbels also made 2 exhibitions there. So I was suddenly very interested in the biography of Goebbels, and in these days I found out that there's something also close in my neighborhood.
Yes.
So if you look for it, then you find it out, and it's sure you are much more involved if it's in your neighborhood. I mean, the German artist made a lot about this topic, this Nazi topic, in a good way, I think. But in these days where youngsters explode themselves in supermarkets, and neo-Nazis again in my hometowns running through the streets, it has suddenly a new actuality.
Yes.
And I couldn't imagine that I'm finding this kind of house in my neighborhood. It's only 200 meters far away. And the interesting thing is that Goebbels by himself wrote about this house in his diaries.
Yes.
So can you imagine, in the end of his life, he knew he will die and kill the whole family.
Yes.
He wrote about his birth room, and heard there was a white flag in front of the house. He was upset, and that's why he planned terrorist attacks, and describes a terror structure which still exists till today. So I went in the house, and it was full of Nazi ghosts still. I found these books, all this stuff. I questions by myself, how can you deal with this place?
Yes.
So, and with this question, I'm not alone. In these days, also the people from Braunau called me. They were thinking about what they could do about with this Adolf Hitler birthhouse.
Yes.
And so I was not alone with this question, and the question is very, very difficult. So Reit was completely demolished after war, but these places are all survived. And how can we deal with this? Especially, I'm thinking about the original room. What does it mean? Let's think about it. So it was also for me not only a treasure box. It was also interesting in the way of dealing with room. For me, another place to work with. Sure, it was also used as a clear political statement against Nazis in my hometown.
And what can you tell our friends here? What exactly did you do with the house? So in 2014, you acquired the house, which is
I found it before, and I went into the archives. And when you go into the archives, you find the city said we didn't know that because the numberings of the homes changed.
Yes.
But if you look for it, you find it. And the Nazi scene, they already knew it because they placed window flowers in front of the building. So it's fascinating to find such a place. And first, I taped it from the outside. Years before, and because I'm always looking for storages, because I'm not the owner of this house, for example. It's that's why I'm storing rooms and looking also for other homes, other houses to go on working. And then I saw this offer in Immo Scout. Because I've known this building before, and then I'm asked for this building. It was announced as a wonderful home for young families. It was not announced as the Goebbels home house, and I think only the family knew about it. Then I went in and I documented. I photographed everything. I also document this advertising at the Immo Scout, and then I brought it.
And then you started, you were in a way living there, and you also did, you have...
I brought it to be independent. So I didn't want it finally that anybody tells me what to do with it. And while and also get a permission to deconstruct the home. So I brought it with the permission to deconstruct them. So then I went in, and then we wanted to know more about it. And because of the last person who lived there could not get all the material out, I kept it. I kept it with the inventory. And then I went in, I stayed there and made my experience, and these kind of books about racism, phrenology, and this Nazi ghost was in form of these big books still inside. I first of all documented everything, and then I hired a company who scanned everything, the whole house, from the top to the back. And this is also in the exhibition now, a little stick.
Yes.
As a question for the audience, what would you do with such a home? How can you deal with this house? And yes, but the story is getting bigger and bigger, and I want to get rid of it. So I'm not happy with the situation. And what I really found out that lots of curators found this topic interesting, but they didn't want to do something with it. So you feel if somebody has interest in something, getting touched, but in the same way, they don't want to take the risk to do it in Germany. because we are in this difficult moment. Suddenly, I'm grown up in West Germany where everybody says something against Nazis immediately, you know.
Yes.
And now it's changing a little bit. People are getting scary and going step back and don't want to be too much involved after. And then I met Anna Rottenberg, the Grand Dame of Polish curator. She lost her whole family in the Holocaust, and she said directly, "Yes, we do this in the National Museum of Warsaw." And then I showed all my research in this museum, and the young people, they really said thank you to me. And the same time in Germany, there was the discussion about why Warsaw, why not Paris, and where should we do it? Sure, I would love to do this also in front of the supermarket of my hometown, you know. And but there's no ideal place to do it. And so we showed there the videos, the research. Everything was not commercialized. And to get the connection back to Germany, the truck with the trash in front of the National Museum also were transported to
Berlin.
In Berlin under the it was the Kastorf time, and they had this 150 jubileum or something. And they said immediately, yes, we do this in front of the Wesselplatz, Luxemburger Platz, ex-Wesselplatz, as a sign. So I don't wanted to keep the trash in Warsaw and to have the
trash of the house, you mean?
Yes.
The trash of the Goebbels house, yeah?
Yes. But there were nobody from my hometown in Warsaw. Nobody.
Amazing.
So the interests are not that big. So,
and do you feel your work is touching a taboo, Gregor?
I don't know. For me, it was a natural reflection, a reflex. So
yes.
So the question is why I found the house or the house found me. I'm interested in this.
Yes.
I think when things are not outspoken, then they are very intense. And then they're getting very loud, and this gives me the energy to jump out of my bed in the morning and to do it. No?
Yes.
So, but I could have brought also for the same money an apartment in Mallorca. No? So I did it. So sure, we have a different house market here than in Den Haag or in Düsseldorf and Cologne, because we have still lots of empty houses in my region. But I think these houses should be the whole society responsible for. So the whole no, they should be not in private ownership. This is my and I want to get rid of it. You know? So I'm not happy with it.
Yes,
this was the Goebbels story, and then we have the cube story. It's also a long story. It's also developed here in Reit. I was working here with one Muslim, and he told me about if you are interested in total isolated rooms, hidden rooms, dark rooms. He told me about Kaaba in Mecca. This was 2003, 2004. It started, and he worked with me, and he saw all of these kind of rooms, and he told me that, and I didn't know anything about this. And then I made research about this black cube in Mecca, and we made this building naked, made three-dimensional drawings. And so it started that I was involved. So also people who are working with me or coming into the house or into my storage, they're also bringing new ideas. And so also changing over the years. And and out of this research about Kaaba and Mecca, I developed this black cube, which is in form, function, and in view, and unique sculpture. And sure, it was inspired of what I've done before, and inspired of Kaaba and Mecca, and it stays in reference of the Malevich, the black square, because the Kaaba and Mecca stands also on a white base.
Yes.
But if you put the white ceiling, the water drain, the golden letters, and the golden door 2 meters above the ground away, and change a little bit the measurements, then you have a black square. And I found it interesting. And then I was invited to do this in Venice. So all the discussion were made before, and then suddenly it was stopped. And I asked myself why, because everybody loved it, so everybody wanted it, and I didn't got any answer. I mean, it's a big project, it's a big ship. You have to move, and if it's moving, you cannot stop it immediately. And I have people which are working with me. I paid people, and I want to explain them why it's not possible. So my reaction was, yes, let's talk about it. Why this is not happening? And everything need to be done. And nobody was talking about this openly. And I got this official letter to everybody who was working with us from David Croft. After a decision in Rome, that's what he wrote, it's stopped because of the political nature of this piece. Yeah. And Rosa Martinez was totally correct. And she made this public. And finally, also the book were censored. So we couldn't explain why it was happened. And it was an idea from Udo Kittelmann, also doing it in Venice. And later, 1 year later, he wanted to do this in Berlin with Eugen Blume, and they failed again. But the texts were already written. We have to do this for the independency of art. Berlin is the right place, close to the politics. It's the right sign for the world. So all the texts were written, and the official announcement of the museum was we stopped it because it needs to be realized in New York or in Israel that the cube keeps the power.
Yes.
And it was a big lie, and also the emails, everything is documented in these times.
Yes.
They wrote me, we have to take care, the minister is involved, all these things. And yes, then it was realized in Hamburg.
Yes, in 2007.
It was a big success. And after that, also high-end curators tried to realize it all over the world.
Yes.
And in New York, in London, in Paris, in Zaragoza, in Poland, but till today nobody is talking about it.
Yes.
Only Rosa Martinez made it public, and the difficulties. So it's still a big thing for me because it's not outspoken. So that's why I carry this with me. And yes, 15, 16 years I'm working on that. And it's
we ask our guests if they have anything to ask Gregor Schneider.
Yes.
Gregor is open for questions from the public. Yes.
I'm sorry, I cannot see.
Yes. In case there are questions, please feel free to ask.
I have a question.
Yes. So please step out.
Do you see me?
Yes.
My question is, what is the relationship between the sculptures you make, like, for example, the plaster breast, and the rooms you make?
Yes.
Very good question.
General, you could talk about this the line of the exhibition. It's somehow chronologic. I like to do things chronologic because then I have to make less decisions. I'm also a photographer and a filmer. So in the very first exhibitions, for example, in Haus Langhaus Esthers or in Kunsthalle Bern, in the main rooms, you've seen also the photographs and the films. So, and I'm also doing carrying things which happen inside the rooms. The first time that I showed bodies, so now I'm talking about these figures, I've shown in the Vauxhall Gallery in Warsaw. I was invited to Vauxhall in Warsaw. It was a very small room, 5 by 7 meters, a very insulated and concentrated space. One of the most concentrated spaces I've personally seen in the art world. It was loaded of the artists who worked there, and I was invited from Barowski. And in these days, so this space was founded from Tadeusz Kantor, Barowski, and Krasinski. In these days, Krasinski was still alive. Yes. Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I just heard a voice. I thought you want to stop me. So, and in these days, there was the minimal artist and all the conceptual artists worked there. Romano Palka, Karpov, and whatever. And it's a wide space, 5 by 7 meters. And there I placed myself on the floor as a human body. You could not recognize, is it a doll? Is it a human? Or is it a dead person? So this was the first time that I did it in public, these kind of things. And to make this again, I reconstructed also the exhibition space and showed it in different places with the performance once again. And if I'm not doing the performance, I made a silicone form of myself, of my body, to place it in between. So, the bodies are myself or part of my family. That's where they come from. So people in my neighborhood, surrounding people who came into the house or getting part of it, I concreted, worked with them, and later they're somehow placed like silicone forms in exhibition. So it comes from my daily neighborhood and my family, from my life. So they're real existing bodies.
People.
Yes, people. So for example, myself. And for the opening, I did it once again. I must say I'm getting older with these performings, so it's I'm not anymore so used to do it. But I thought if I'm showing this older sculpture, I have to do this once again. But sure, if you are entering in rooms, it's always about performing, about body. You know, I'm started as a painter, made these performings, and the idea of sitting in these boxes, and out of these boxes develop the rooms. And if you are entering rooms, you have to go in, you have to open a door, or standing behind a wall, or so the human body is always present.
Yes.
Also in these rooms. And like I made rooms transportable, I try to put them into museums. I make also these kind of bodies transportable. Is it helpful? I don't know. Yes. So I have different interests. But they are not only empty rooms. I have empty rooms, but I have hidden rooms, but there are also rooms with inventory, inventory, but there are also rooms where something happened.
Yeah.
And this I'm trying to make happen once again, and to make it more, maybe also make it less understandable. It's sometimes not clear, is it really a human body, or is it a doll, or a reconstruction of a body, or a deaf person.
Thanks.
Yes, Ori Dessau showed once lots of sculptures in Herzliya.
Yes.
So I'm collecting all these things also. So this is also kind of working process that I'm always recycling. So I'm trying not to throw things away. It's a big snake house what I'm carrying with me. When you look at my storage, it's a huge storage. So I'm keeping these things,
And maybe I ask you, because we showed in Israel, we showed also the beach cells, and we showed different segments of the house, and also the dead figures. So maybe, and also we did something about the cube, but maybe I should ask you, do you think your work is dangerous? Are you interested in danger, or in moments we lose the protection of the space, because the space is a little bit like a protection?
First, I'm coming back to the first question. I mean, often it was criticized that the audience get overwhelmed, so that it's
like terror.
So, and if you show the photographs and also some sculptures, it's more about, it tells you about the thinking about it.
Yes.
So the photographs, for example, shows something what you cannot build. For example, I have the chance to photograph one room built in two different places.
Yes.
And later to show again in one room.
Yes.
So it shows also, for example, for Venice in 2001, that everything had to look like it looked in 2001 then.
Yes.
So it shows also the technique, the way of working, and yes, and it's just a way of thinking about. Sure, it's a photograph. They're also small photographs. They're not. I thought it's stupid to make them 2 by 1 meter in a time where everybody does it. So no, it's more, the photographs looks more frozen. So they are not in concurrence with the experience of a room. But if you show, it shows the conceptual way of working. And you can think also about these sculptures in different, they're all different. So you have the totally isolated boxes, you have the bags were often closed. You don't know if somebody in there. And now we have bags which are half open, so something gets in and something comes out. It's also always the question of being present or not present. But that's coming to your question, if rooms are dangerous. Is it a real question? Do you think rooms are dangerous?
No, I think they are not dangerous, but I think you have a moment that when we are in a museum, we usually have a certain kind of condition, and this condition is to feel very protected. And you take away some of this protective shield of the institution, I think.
Oh, I think I'm very analytic, and I'm trying to think about rooms, and I'm trying to get a distance to rooms. Because the interesting thing is that rooms are different than paintings and objects.
Okay. But once you used to say,
when we're starting to speak about it,
yes,
we getting in distance to the room. We collecting more knowledge about how we perceive surroundings and how we are in relationship to it.
yes,
This is a big question, a very big question, because we are surrounded and we don't know how it's functioning.
yes, yes, it's true. But for example, once you said that the exhibition is the death of the work, in an interview, that when you show something, it's already dead. Because if it would have been alive, it would not be shown. It would be part of the fabric of life. So
I said it because it came from daily life. So it started here as an organism. It was a body. You know, it's more like, it's also very a spiritual
yes,
way of working. So, and a museum makes cuts, and objects, and getting people in distance to things. Yes. And that's why I called the rooms taking out of this house bathrooms. Because yes, in the beginning I didn't like it because I felt it's compromising, and all the people visit me here, for example.
Yes.
Lots of artists, lots of curators, they all came. So, but after the moment I was not anymore, could not plan in a longer distance, yes, working here. Then I had to go out and to develop it in another direction. But I'm sure I'm not a big fan of museums. Definitely.
Maybe we have more questions from the audience.
Yes, hello. I have a question. Do you hear me?
Yes, please.
Hello. Yeah, you said that you're not a big fan of museums, but one of the craziest experiences I have in a museum is when I go to Mönchengladbach on a Sunday, and then I get into the Eiffelberg Museum. It's so empty and so scary. And then I get to your room. I know where it is, but still I've seen it like 3-4 times. And the experience I got there was very different than the experience I got in West, in The Hague. Because then the rooms were already in places that are rooms, or that were rooms. Well, maybe the one in the Alberg, it was like, because you are in this museum, right? And this kind of like white cube that is this empty space, that we know it has all this connotation, but still is this white cube. And I would like to know why then you don't like museums somehow. I feel like the experience for me is so big in the museum, in some ways.
It's always experimenting. No, you can dealing in different ways with different places. For example, there's a message. Somebody, there's a message. Thought there's somebody sent a text message. Yes, it's in 1994. I made my first exhibition in Berlin, and the gallery was new open, so nobody knew this space before. So if you are working in a space which has been not known from the audience before, it's something different. No? Or when you're working on an island in Venice, in a Nazi pavilion, where never any basement existed, it's a different situation. Or at Tybeck Museum, there you see also the rest of different other exhibitions I've done before. The first exhibition was called Brothel. Later, I was invited to make the temporary extension. This was this black building with this black opening developed out of the black cube. It's a Malevich idea to walk into the blackness, and there was suddenly confronted with the question: how can be shown different works out of different period of time in the same time in a museum? And that's why I made the Hans Hollein building completely black. And if you make something completely black, then the architecture gets invisible. So you can combine, again, rooms out of different contexts, what I've done before, without needing to build corridors. And if you're starting to build corridors in a museum, you have problems with exits, runaway doors, and these things. And this problem you solve with this decision. So in Abteilberg Museum, the museum brought something from a collector, not from my storage. They could have come with a truck to my storage and picked something up. No, they brought something somewhere else, and then they asked me how to present it. And in Abteilberg Museum, I made a long-term exhibition and changed it again and again. After the black temporary extension, I built a garage in front of it, and then the connection between the garage and the other collection were cut, and Udo Kittelmann took one sleeping room to Berlin without getting asked, and now this is the rest. This is the rest which is there, and sure, you have a big contrast between the museum and the installed room. You know? But it's important to show rooms also in museums. I'm also fighting for it because museums, they don't collect rooms. So I'm collecting rooms not only because I like that, because I have to collect them by myself. Otherwise, nobody would do. Museums, they reconstruct rooms when they have enough money. So I'm always disappointed to see this when also rooms from younger artists get destroyed, you know, and not saved by museums. So I'm happy to get support from museums, but a museum for rooms is needed. So it's not existing. So I'm only disappointed when I'm arriving in the exhibition, then everything gets reconstructed posthum after an artist died. Or, for example, with Absalon, where they suddenly build rooms the artist never did by himself.
Yes.
After drawings. So, and when he really would have lived in one of these rooms outside, he would have thought about electricity, waterproof material, and for sure the work would have changed. So I think if a museum wants to be a museum in the historical way of collecting, storing, then they also need to collect original rooms, and they should not reconstruct them after the artist died. This is a big it's a big problem.
And I think, Gregor, your work is challenging the concept of the art object, because it's always a space, it's always an event, it's always connected to a parallel reality. So in a way, you undermine what museums see as the art object, because you have some kind of an expanded idea of the artwork beyond the boundaries of the object. And if I can say it like this, I think Marie-José, maybe you, Gregor, you have something you want to say, because we are approaching the end of our session.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm very thankful to that we had the chance to make also the performance during the opening. In the dark room. It's a room which started in 2008, and
but you have
yes,
one question.
Yes.
You are now in the house where you started working with rooms.
yes, yes.
I can see where you are. Can you give us
Yes.
a little tour?
The Liebe
thinking-
Farbe.
You're not feeling like it?
No, I cannot. We have not enough light. And,
Yeah. Okay. We can do without.
yes, yes, but it's I think also I was asked why I'm making these kind of retrospective exhibitions, no? And I was thinking about it, and I thought yes, maybe I'm one of the artists who are able to do this, because he's really collecting also rooms. No? I found this interesting, and the exhibition spaces are not so easy for what I'm doing. That's why I'm starting with the small rooms, and from the upstairs you don't get big things inside, and then you come into the black level where everything is completely black, and there I'm showing in the major room this temple from Kolkata.
Mm-hmm.
In the exhibitions are some contents where you have a religion aspects inside, you know, and so this temple procession is very important for me. Is coming and going and building up and building down, and from this floor you go deeper and deeper into the building, and come into also hidden areas of the American embassy. And through the dark room, you're passing also these cryo tanks, which are first shown in churches. It's referenced to the post-humanism philosophy, and through the garage you come out, and then you are in front of the museum, and probably you don't know in the first moment where you are if you are not a local and know this. But I have not, so it helps me to think about what I have done in the past, and to gives me personally also to give distance to it. So it helps me also, Ori, if you help me to understand what I'm doing, because mainly artists doing just things because they don't know why they do it. So it helps me if you find a good description. What I know is that we have less words about describing rooms. So we need more Begriffe describing rooms. And if you read text, what I've written, you will never find an interpretation. So I'm trying to describe what I'm doing. So please help me to describe what I'm doing. And the interesting thing, when you have also things more in distance, then you are starting to describe these things. And if you see them twice, then you have much more distance to it. This helps me a lot. to understand what I'm doing.
I hope I understand, but what I do understand is that listening to you and hearing your words about your art, for me, it's always part of the art. Huh? So I was fortunate, Marie-José was fortunate, and also our audience was fortunate to listen to you and to hear you speak about your work as an extension of the work. Huh? It's not an outside. In a way, there is no outside to your work. It's always from the inside. And in a way, we saw another part. We didn't just hear you, we also saw another part of the work for me.
I don't know. In Germany, I mean, you need to pay lots of money to get good art historian text. And it's
oh, yeah.
it's and this is something what I'm trying to explain. It's very difficult to find good texts about what I've already done. For example, everybody is writing about installation art.
Yes, you don't like the word installation.
Because it tells nothing about anything.
Yes.
I mean, is Udo Kittelmann a good writer? No. Who is a good writer? Who makes good? Because we don't have good writers. That's why I'm always get asked. But
yes, but maybe
and find new ways of description. So I want to explain the cube story. Why nobody else explains the cube story?
Yeah.
Why is nobody in Germany writing about the cube story? Nobody does. Why nobody is writing about the Goebbels home story? Nobody does. That's why I need to do it. You can follow this content.
But it's also about
because it's art is a kind of it's a closed circle, and it's only existing when it's happening inside a museum behind closed walls. And then if you don't get it inside this world, inside these walls, it doesn't exist. That's why I'm doing these exhibitions. Starting to have this discussion, starting to find somebody who's writing about it.
I am talking about it. Yeah. Okay. So maybe we call it yes, Marie-José.
Something. Yeah, maybe there's one of the guests who has an urgent question. Please do ask.
Yes, thank you so much. It's a little bit, yes.
Oh, I think there's a question.
Yes.
Gregor, do I understand you need people around you to tell the story, to see the story you made of?
I think the cube story is very important to inform about. And I think also the Goebbels story is very important to talk about. There are some informations which need to be made. Yes. Yes.
But not every word.
I'm as an artist. I'm pretty independent. I have my places. I can work also outside galleries and museums, like I did.
Yes, I believe so. You make your own story.
Yes.
But in some ways, you need other people to reflect and to see another part of your story.
Every human is communicating, you know. It's and there's there doesn't exist non-communication. Sure, I'm communication. I'm communicating with the world through the art, first of all. But sure, if you are involved in these projects like Cube and also the dying room, it's also a very interesting topic. Everything we're doing about dying in these days, about fears, but we are not able to look at it. Like you can, and if you are involved about these things, then you are suddenly in another situation. Then you are suddenly brought into public and brought into discussion. You know? I mean, this changed. This changed a lot. Yes, but I was always talking with other persons. I mean, I had always visitors in this house. I mean, I was always happy when people came. I was studying with in different academies, and they came. I was studying in Düsseldorf with Thomas Demand, and the whole class came to my home. I was studying in Münster, and they all came in Hamburg. And I studied some classic camps came from Düsseldorf. So I was always communicating. So it's not that I was didn't wanted to communicate. That's not,
no, you communicated this afternoon from the first moment you entered the conference.
Yes, yes, for example, also before. Yeah, before Venice, I made also lots of interviews and talks, but after got the Golden Lion and suddenly 20 persons wanted to have interviews, I stopped doing it because this was not anymore about communication. I couldn't solve this in this moment, and I thought it's only about this award and not about what I'm doing. Then I stopped it, and suddenly I had this label, he's not communicating. I'm working till 21 years at academies and in art schools in Germany and abroad. I love to talk about art and talk independently with young people about this content. Yes.
And I did see that Andreas has a question too, but you have to turn on your microphone.
Oh, there's a small mistake. Something has happened.
Yeah, it's the button of the microphone, the white button.
But sure, the way we communicate changed also completely. Also the way what means private room, what means public room changed completely. In these days, you suddenly see lots of photographs from the inside of the Kaaba in Mecca. In 2004, you haven't seen any photographs from the inside. Sorry.
Yes. Many people didn't know there is a room inside.
Yes. So thank you so much for the attention. Thank you so much. Hope we can do it once again in Den Haag.
In flesh.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
thank you very much, and thank you all for coming into this chat room. And please come again to the exhibition. And we have a symposium coming up at the end of November. I don't know if it's going to be online or in real life.
Yes, we hope the best.
Okay, thank you, Gregor. Thank you, Marisha.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.